What's happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where for today's video we're going to be checking out the Takara Tomy Transformers Beast Wars Eternal Beast Showdown Optimus Primal versus Megatron. Now, as we very quickly check out the packaging, up front we have Primal Megatron fully transformed into their beast forms, and as we spin around here to the back of the box we have a few images of their robot forms. I've been super excited for this set. I think it's awesome that Takara Tomy are basically giving us premium finished versions of some of those amazing Transformers Kingdom molds, so let's get cracking. And so, up first, here we have Optimus Primal, fully maximized into his beast mode. Now, between Primal and Megatron, this figure definitely has the least amount of changes when compared to either of his previous retail versions. Although, with that said, I still think this is the best version of this mold to date, because much like the Takara Masterpiece Optimus Primal, they're fully decked out the faceplate, the chest, the knuckles, and the toes in metallic blue, which personally I do find to better match what we saw from the original Beast Wars series. And can I just say how awesome it is to kind of throw back to Transformers Kingdom. For the best part of this year, I've been reviewing some of the Rise of the Beast Maximals, which have all been great, but to kind of go back to the roots of the Beast Wars designs has been really cool. And to be honest, I had actually forgotten how much of a banger this Optimus Primal mold is. I think in terms of beast form, it's about 95% perfect. Just check out the details that we have here for the face. I mean, this most definitely is the ferocious leader of the Maximals. I really like the way the detail is on this guy, and he also retains all of the same points of articulation as we saw previously. So the sick butterfly joints in the shoulders, so you can have him pounding his chest just before he's about to go into battle against the Predacons. And he also has the ability to stand upright on two legs, although if I'm going to be honest, guys, I definitely think that is the weaker look for his beast form. And don't you guys worry, I will touch base with the articulation and the accessories and features in more detail once we maximize him in robot mode, but for the time being, bang! Here we have the T-Rex Megatron. And without a doubt, this is the clear winner of this Showdown 2-pack, because not only does the beast mode look incredible, but once we terrorize this guy up in his robot mode, he finally includes a long-awaited alternate head sculpt, which to me really is a game changer for this Megatron figure. But as we just check out the beast mode, in particular with this Megatron, it really seems like they've slapped a shit ton of Takara Masterpiece level of paint over the top, because not only is this very accurate to how he did appear in the original Beast Wars series, but where the paint has been applied, it's also very similar to their Masterpiece. I mean, just check out the details along the side of the body. To begin with, from pretty much every single angle, this already was a fantastic beast mode, but you add a ton of paint over the top, and undeniably, it does look 1,000 times better. Just check out the underside of Megatron. Even this is so nicely detailed. I also really like that despite how broken apart the tail becomes for the transformation, the paintwork is pretty seamless, and even here for the top, he retains that metallic green stripe which goes all the way along the tail, the back, and the neck. It really is just such an impressive Megatron. I do think it was a good idea to leave the pupils off. We saw them try and replicate that with the Jurassic Park crossover, and let's all be real, it didn't turn out too great. So I think just leaving them red is fine enough. And yeah, just all the way throughout this guy, he looks remarkable. He's still made out of that kind of flexible plastic as we saw from the original version, so when you are handling him, he does kind of have a realistic feel to him, but the posability is just wicked. I mean, check out how many joints there are in the head, in the legs, and the tail. Despite this thing transforming, I really don't think the beast mode was compromised at all. But let's see how these guys stack up alongside their original counterparts. So, comparing Primals first of all, here we have the Netflix version on the right. Now, I would have loved to have been able to whack out the original Wave 1 version, although I cannot find it anywhere. But, as you can see, to me it seems that with this Netflix version, they were going with a slightly more realistic ape with the grey face, the grey chest, knuckles and toes, whereas without a doubt the Takara version is more animation accurate with the metallic blue. And check out the differences in the eyes. The Takara version is way more detailed than this guy. So, yeah, personally, I do prefer this new release, but as we spin them here to the side, there aren't too many differences. I'd say the shade of plastic they used for the fur is pretty much dead on, although they did make one major change to the thighs, which definitely does make the Takara version way more enjoyable, in my opinion. But as we move over to Megatron, there are quite a few differences when compared to the original Wave 1 version, which, don't you guys get me wrong, I still think is an incredibly cool figure, but definitely does come across as being quite plasticky, really does resemble Barney in the shade of purple they used, whereas the Takara version, as I said, really resembles the Masterpiece. So as we just spin them here to the sides, it's going to be a bit difficult because they are huge figures, but just check out the striping that we have here on the new Takara release. Hands down, it looks incredible. The purple is much darker to better resemble Beast Wars. The green paint up top is way more refined when in comparison to how heavy it was used here on the original version. If you're like myself and you're into your animation accuracy, then without a doubt, the new Takara Megatron is by far the more superior. So, with both of their beast modes fully looked over, let's now maximize Optimus Primal and then terrorize Megatron. And so, now that we have Optimus Primal fully maximized into his robot mode, this is really where I think the Takara release comes out to shine, because the robot mode is just so animation accurate. Like I mentioned previously, it really does seem like they've taken the paint apps from the Masterpiece and have just smacked them over the top of the mainline versions, because check out Primal's head sculpt. The metallic blue helmet looks so cool. I maybe would have liked to have seen the integration of the faceplate that we saw included with the Nemesis Primal, because I believe with the exception of that buzzworthy 4-pack, we have never seen that released on a Primal figure, and considering Megatron has a new sculpt, I think that would have been a neat touch. But this still does look really impressive, as so does the chest piece, and by far one of the biggest improvements this Primal has over any of the previous releases would be the thighs are now solid white plastic. If you own an Optimus Primal, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say paint scuffing was a nightmare for this figure. Due to the way he transformed, 9 times out of 10, these areas would become incredibly scuffed. They'd then look super nasty no matter how you tried to pose them. So this is definitely a massive upgrade, that this time round they are solid plastic, meaning that paint chipping is completely avoided, and it's just such a cool figure. Articulated hands, pistons in the shins, the back kibble was pretty much kept to a minimum. In addition to the over-the-shoulder rockets, he also had embedded forearm guns, which are so insane, and in addition to all of that, he includes his Beast Wars accurate cyber blades, which much like Primal himself, I think have been so nicely painted. Check out the metallic blue that we have there for the hilt, and the sword itself looks so wicked. So without a doubt, definitely such a nice mainline Primal. Much like the Megatron, it's going to take an awful lot in the future for them to top this mold. And speaking of Megatron, is this guy still the clear winner of the Showdown 2-pack? I'm going to go ahead and say absolutely yes, because the robot mode is so detailed, so animation accurate. They really have completely maked over the original version, and he finally includes the long-awaited grinning head sculpt that was very first teased on the back of the box for the Maximal T-Rex all the way back in 2021, and it looks brilliant. Look at the details that we have for the teeth, and the paint apps, as I said throughout this video, are pretty much masterpiece worthy. He still retains the Predacon logo slap bang and center. Personally, I do find myself preferring this sculpt when compared to the original version, because I think it just adds a shit ton of personality to this Megatron. He really does look brilliant. Check out the chest unit, the legs are so nicely detailed, and even this arm with the claw, check out how much paint detail we have on this. He really does look super sick, and he is so poseable. Considering he's quite chunky, I was expecting maybe him to be a little limited when I very first got him all the way back in 2020, but absolutely not. He can definitely throw down, showdown against Optimus Primal, which is pretty cool. And check out the T-Rex head. So, as I mentioned previously, the jaw still does open. Unfortunately, he doesn't include any blast effects. And you know what? While we're on the topic of accessories, it would have been amazing had they included the little rubber ducky. I think that would have been a great accessory, but Yeah, such a cool looking figure. He still retains the hip rockets that we saw in the first version too. It's just a brilliant looking mold, and I'm not too sure how they're going to make this better if they ever do approach this design in the future. And now, as we get stuck into the robot mode comparisons, first up we have Optimus Primal. I really think there is a clear winner here, and it is definitely the Takara release. Check out how much more paint we have embedded within the chest piece. The head sculpt, again, is way more detailed, and not to mention the Takara version is a lot more vibrant to better match what we saw from the original animation model. I'm not quite sure what they were going for when they released this Netflix version, as upon reflection, it now kind of looks a little discoloured, and that white definitely does look very bland and boring in comparison to the supreme white plastic that we now have on the thighs. No paint chipping at all is going to occur on this guy, and I will be real, he would have been even better had they included that Nemesis Primal faceplate, but the regular mouth does still look pretty cool. And then moving over to Megatron, yes, there still are some huge differences here. Now don't get me wrong, I still think the original Kingdom version is an awesome looking figure, but in terms of which one is more animation accurate, hands down it's the new Showdown release. Check out the additional details that we have for the thighs, the skirt and the chest. The details on the shoulders are way more refined here on the Takara version, and personally I do find myself preferring the grinning head sculpt over the original release. Now one thing I will say is because this Megatron has never included any accessories, I think it would have been an awesome touch by Takara to reissue this head sculpt as a swap out piece for this Megatron. I think that just would have been great, especially as with the upcoming Air Razor and Inferno 2-pack, they are going to be giving Inferno 2 blasters, so it would have been nice to have seen them give Megatron 2 head sculpts, but in terms of which one is the better looking version, hands down, Showdown is for the win. And so, wrapping up on this review, overall I think this is a pretty great set. This is a huge return to form for Takara Tomy's premium finish line, as they have just delivered the best looking Kingdom Megatron and Optimus Primal. Megatron, quite simply, is a straight 10 out of 10. Both Beast and Robot mode look incredible, and it is awesome to finally see an official release for that grinning head sculpt which was shown off all those years ago. Considering that unlike Optimus Primal he doesn't include any accessories though, it would have been wicked had they included the original head sculpt fully decked out in the same premium finish that we've seen from the new one, but with the exception of that, he's brilliant. Optimus Primal, in terms of his beast mode, due to the nature of its design, the differences aren't obviously noticeable upon first glance, but the second you maximize him into his robot mode, much like Megatron, this guy is so nicely detailed, and as I've mentioned throughout this video, it really does seem like they took the paint apps from the Masterpiece figures and have just slapped them onto the mainline releases. If this is a sign of what we can expect from the future of premium finish, then you guys can count me in, as I really do think the future Showdown sets, much like this one, are very quickly going to be replacing some of my previous Beast Wars figures. I'd love to get your thoughts on this set down in the comment section below. Is it something you guys plan on picking up? Until my next review, I thank you all so much for watching. Transform and roll out!